Si benta ban khanglat ikajing khanrei jong kajing pang hapo kane kajela nekleng ke Meghalaya AIDS Control Society hakasiterik unopra arjar alpulai kala si benta bas no ketilang situlup ke perthai manrakhe kerpang yagane sngi keblatip kum ko wall AIDS day kebajurakhe man usnam Hakane kasngi ke Meghalaya kelarake hapolo second ground hakapalawan masih mentalang taki samla pulenos bat ki batrimos ngobha banyarap yaki imlang kesalang nak benta ketai ke jingpang Hakane kasngi menteri kesorkar bakhmi ya ke social welfare uba pol lingdo ulawan kumu kongsan uba Frederick Harkongon uba long kumu sebut kongsan uba deru commissioner ba secretary jong social welfare
each one of you of the famous words of a well-known poet who said, "Oh, talk not to me of a name great in story. The days of our youth are the days of our glory." Lord Alfred Tennyson. I'd like to start by pleading and sensitizing our young persons that you have the choice to be either an asset or a liability to society. I would like to implore that with the population, the youth population that Meghalaya has, which is roughly 65%, we would need each one of you, beginning today, to start seeing yourself as an asset to the state, as somebody who can contribute meaningfully to building up a state which will be young not just in age, but in its outlook and its approach to life. I must commend the efforts of Meghalaya AIDS Control Society under the able leadership of the Health Department for the various initiatives that you have taken. And today, as you speak of communities leading, let me remind each one of you that a major strength of Meghalaya is the fact that its indigenous population have always been community driven. We still observe practices where we even share our meals together as neighbors. This is an inherent strength which we must build upon in a war against drugs and in a war against narcotics, and also the impact that this has had on the rise of HIV/AIDS in Meghalaya. It is very distressing to hear the statistics and to know that the prevalence of HIV/AIDS is well above the national average. But on a day like today, let us pledge to be difference makers. Let us pledge to remind ourselves that where a small mind sees problems, a strong mind sees opportunities. We can and we shall overcome. I will not bore the audience with a long speech. Sitting back at the back felt like June, and here on stage it feels like January. So it's difficult to speak to an audience which is facing the heat of July. You know, we have World AIDS Day. The world has really become global. Even our heat has become global. Our temperatures have also become global. But briefly, I'm reminded and taking a cue from what Mark Frederick Kapunga has said earlier, TB or cholera. It is the disease of being ignored. The various sufferers of HIV/AIDS and their families, I'm sure, have faced the stigma of being neglected, abused, humiliated. But today, a gathering like this gathering should serve to remind that we are not here to be judgmental. We are not here to sit on judgment. We are here to relate, to empathize, and to share our compassion with those struggling with HIV/AIDS. I was not aware of this disease even in my young days until I heard about Freddie Mercury suffering from it, because he was a rock icon and his music has always been very close to my heart. The kind of talent that we lost in a musical icon like Mercury should remind each one of us about the need to not only take a pledge in the fight against HIV/AIDS, but also to be very combative day in and day out.
Leaders who have come from across the 12 districts as we join hands this morning with the world in celebrating World AIDS Day. December 1st is a date which is a very significant date throughout the world, and we here in Meghalaya, it is a date no less significant. As we just heard from the opening remarks of Dr. De Cruz, it is a slight matter of concern that in Meghalaya, the percentage of AIDS is in fact higher than the national average. So this gathering today gains added significance because it demonstrates a concern and a kind of a wake-up call for all of us who are stakeholders together to reflect on how we are to coalesce all our forces so that we are able to meet these emerging challenges. I am reminded of the words of a famous poet, Matthew Arnold, who said, "Do not go gently into the night, but rage, rage, rage against the dying of the light." We just heard a very powerful testimony of the young friend just now on his battle, on his war, and on how he has been able to cope and is now standing on a public platform to give hope to all the people who may be suffering from HIV. What struck me in that testimony is that the most important aspect is, in fact, compassion. All of you, in fact, the bulk of the gathering here are from the medical fraternity, and we know that the various branches of medicine, you have allopathy, you have homeopathy, you have naturopathy, but as one very senior doctor, the most important branch of medicine is in fact empathy. And I think when you combine passion and compassion, when you combine your scientific and medical branches of allopathy and homeopathy with empathy, there is a very powerful combination that can overcome anything, and more so something like AIDS and HIV, which is something that is so linked with stigma. It is important that this year your theme is "Let Communities Lead," because if the community can demonstrate compassion, if it can demonstrate a sense of shared goals and shared vision and shared action and shared empathy, then no enemy, no disease can be strong enough. Like that famous song goes, we shall overcome. So I think that is one thing which is a kind of a rallying cry, because that promotes inclusivity, understanding as well as empowerment. And as your objective for this year clearly states that we are all gathered here to ensure that we promote community-led initiatives and provide platforms such as these to integrate diverse perspectives, and also through the channel of music, through the medium of music, which we just heard two young boys singing just now, and also the program that will follow thereafter. You will be using music as a very powerful medium to generate awareness and also to reduce stigma. Apart from that, why I am here in my capacity as Commissioner Division is that the office of the Commissioner of Divisions is the Ombudsman, or a kind of a grievance redressal officer who will provide a platform and will give ear to various grievances that are linked.